All right, welcome back. We're now making it on to project number 10. And for project number 10, we're actually going to be introducing you to what would be considered half-hot outlets. And these outlets are going to be half controlled by a light switch. So when I go to turn on this light, not only will I have my lamp holder turn the light on, but also one half of this outlet here would actually turn off. And then when I go to turn off my light, this outlet would then turn off. What type of person would be having a half hot, a half controlled by light switch outlet? Perhaps you have a large lamp that sits in a living room. When you want to read in the evening, maybe you like to turn on the light as well as turn on this lamp. So that would be a scenario where I would want to encounter a half hot. And what I normally do when it comes to students that are dealing with a situation that has to do with a half hot outlet, is just to kind of detail and put in perspective here. If you think back to previous videos, these outlets had this this bracket here that connects these two terminals, allowing you to be able to have power between both sides of this outlet. Well, when it comes to a half hot, and so that way my students know exactly what would be a half hot outlet, our outlets are labeled with an H, meaning half hot. And if you were to look at the terminals, the little bracket that sits between the two terminals is actually broken. So if I were to connect full power from my power in to one side of this outlet, well, one half of that outlet would get 100% power. So that's why I have a half hot outlet. If I want to have one that's got 100% power, or one half that's going to be controlled by a light switch. And to kind of put it in perspective, I'm going to give you two different scenarios. My completed project here, if you take a look at it, starting with box number 1, I have a couple sets of wires here. I got my neutrals. I got a few sets of wires. One that little jump that leads over to my light switch. Another that's going to be 100% power that goes over to my outlet. And then once I get over from box number 1 over to box number 2, what I have here is, here's my 100% power that starts in box number 1 that leads over to my outlet. But then also I have again, I'm color coding here where I have my black wires. It's going to be the power that goes to and from the light switch. That power going from the light switch over to my lamp holder, as well as the other half of that outlet controlled by the light switch. So I have the black wire here, and a little jump that comes off of this. And why I was talking about giving you two different scenarios, in previous videos, I always pointed out that, oh yeah, you could have a lamp holder where you're running your power, like my neutrals here, from one terminal over to another. And another scenario where I can have a little jump that comes off the power that's coming in, or maybe it's neutrals that are going to go back over to your power source. But in this case here, I have my power that's coming in off of a little jump here. And the project I'm going to make for you today will be using the two terminals that go from the power going to the lamp, as well as the power that's going to, that's controlled by that light switch going to the outlet. So you get to see both scenarios here, both using a little jump that has power that's going from the light switch to the light, as well as relaying power over to the other half of my outlet here. And yeah, you see I have two different types of hot wires here. The black wire that comes from my light switch, as well as the red wire here that's the 100% power, where this half of my outlet would constantly have energy and not be controlled by the light switch, as opposed to this side of my outlet that would be controlled by that light switch. And then of course I have my neutrals relaying all the way back over to my neutrals in box number 1. So So hopefully that gives you a good perspective of my what our finished project is going to look like. Okay, but how do we get there? This tends to be a little bit longer of a project because it involves a little bit more wiring, a little bit more terminals, since we're having to deal with an outlet that's half controlled by a light switch. But as we normally do with our projects, and what I encourage students to do for the first that are experiencing this for the first time, start with one single appliance. Okay, in box number 1 I have my my light switch. Let's start there. Now I kind of speed things along with this whole process. I went ahead and I just connected my little jump wire to my light switch. I'm going to set aside my black wire that leads from box number 1 to box number 2. Set that black wire aside. I'll use the same type of colored wire that would be any kind of energy that's coming from my light switch. So black wire designated for the light switch to make it easier for those viewers. So the first wire nut that I'm putting together of wire would be my 100% power. So the power is coming in. That would be power that goes to the light switch, as well as the power that goes from box number 1 and relays all the way over to our outlet. The side of the outlet that gets 100% power, that's always hot. The other side of this black wire here, that would be hooked up to our light switch. Okay, so there's my electrical wiring for box number 1. Okay, the red wire is going to go relaying all the way over to the outlet in box number 3, as well as the black wire. Little jump that goes to my light switch, and then the black wire that goes from the light switch over to the lamp holder in box number 2. We'll save the neutrals for later. Just focus on the hot wires to start. Make it easier for yourself. And in this scenario, what I have here, I mentioned at the beginning, I was going to give you 2 different scenarios. One scenario of a lamp holder that's got a little jump that's hooked up to 2 different black wires. One black wire, that's the power coming from box number 1, the light switch, and the second black wire that goes from box number 2 to the outlet in box number 3. And then connect to those black wires, a little red wire, a little jump that hooks up to our lamp holder. Well, in this scenario here, what I'm going to show you is I could be able to utilize these 2 terminals here where the power that goes into the lamp holder, and then the hot wire that goes from our lamp holder to the next appliance, which would be the half of the outlet controlled by a light switch. So one black wire will make a pigtail. Again, black wire I'm using for the light switch controlling the lamp holder and outlet. And as I usually do, I got to remind you, viewers and students, that that the pigtails, make sure you have them pointed clockwise when you go to put together your terminals, along with the wire. That way those pigtails are locked in as you're tightening your little terminals. So if they're pointed counterclockwise, your pigtails will get pushed out from the terminals as you're tightening. Okay? I'll give you a little perspective here. There's my power that's going in, and the power that's going to go over to box number 3 to our half of the outlet that's controlled by the light switch. And using an outlet, half hot. It's got an H labeled on it. And how can you tell that it's half hot? You can take a look at the bracket. The bracket is broken in the center. That would disconnect the two terminals. Okay, there's the half of the outlet that's controlled by the light switch. Then I have my red wire here. This is constant heat. This is always hot. So I'm going to hook up the red wire to the other half of the outlet. And there we have it. Kind of cheated a little bit by having the red wire already tied together by a wire nut in box number 2. But there we have our power that's going to our light switch that would control the light switch with the lamp holder and the outlet in box number 3. And then the constant energy that runs from box number 1 all the way over through box 2 to the second half of our outlet. And then the last portion would be wiring together our neutrals. I'll just start from the very back here at box number 3 and wire together our neutrals. All right, while I'm here, why not? Let's take care of these grounds. There's only one anyway. All right, no ground in box number 2, so I'm just gonna push this out of the way. Tie together these two neutrals by a wire nut. Correction, hold on. Wow, just made a huge mistake there. Neutrals on the lamp holder. Yikes, I don't think I had enough coffee this morning. Or I swear it's just coffee that's in this coffee mug. Okay, now this one, that's where we got our confusion here, is we're going to tie these together. Since we don't have a neutral on our light switch, we're going to tie these together by wire nut. Fold this that way you guys can be able to see it. Without breaking it. There we go. Hopefully you'll be able to see box number 2 a little bit better. How we did that wiring. Okay, and there's our neutral, now our ground. Okay. So there's our wiring between our light switch that controls the lamp in box number 2, as well as controlling half of an outlet in box number 3. Hard to do this while being upside down here. Well, hopefully you get a better look at this. Yeah, power gets going in from our light switch over to one terminal of our lamp holder, another one that's relaying over to our half hot outlet in box number 3. We got a black wire here that was designated for our light switch that's controlling our lamp holder and our one half of an outlet. The second half, that's a red wire. That'd be constant energy coming from our power in over to our outlet. That concludes our project number 10.